let's chat. And I'm going to give you some background here because that's what we do on Ron Siegel Radio. Chris Karalis, Josh Guleserian.
Hey,
Did I get closer?
That was good.
Got it. Okay. Well, you know something. What I basically have to do is I say, okay, how many people call me Seagull? So now I think Guleserian.
There you go.
Okay, so we might be able to remember it. Okay, so they're with a company called Advantage First, and I'm going to share with you that probably 10 years ago, give or take, maybe it was a little bit more than that. There was probably even more than that because it was right at the time of the
2008
Great Recession. Yeah. There were programs out there. There were debt consolidation, and I used to refer to them as the Great American Scam. What was the product? What was the program? What was the process? So basically, you'd go to a company, and they would say, and they'd collect all of your debts, and they'd say, okay, John, you've got $50,000 in debts, credit cards, autos, whatever you want to get rid of. What we're going to do is we're going to collect money from you. They're going to put it into a formula, and we're going to collect that money. We're going to charge you a fee, and after we take our fee out, then what we're going to do is we're going to start negotiating with your creditors. And what we'll do is after we've taken our fee, they get paid first. They'd say, okay, now we've got $1,000 and you've got a $10,000 Visa bill. We're going to go to Visa and offer them $1,000 for it because they've already got that much money from you. Visa says no, so they go to Discover and they make the offer to them. Well, they keep going to all your creditors until nobody accepts it. What do? They wait till next month. They collect some more money from you. They take their fees first, and then they go and they start the whole process again. Does the company have to accept any offer? No. Does the company stop their collection efforts on you? No. Does it work? Rarely. It was a bad program. It was a bad product, and I found out from my friend Chris Karalis that a lot of people that were doing that, they ended up getting free room and board and a new set of jewelry. It's called silver bracelets. Not good. They were in jail.
Right.
So what I want to find out from you guys is what are we doing here? Is this the same thing? Is it
No, it's much different.
Okay, so explain that to us, Josh.
It's much more regulated now. The Fed stepped in. They slapped on a bunch of regulations, right? And it's much more reputable than ever before. There's the American.
Well, it had to have been more reputable than it was.
Oh, yes, 100%. And the unfortunate part is all those people that got burned have a bad taste in their mouth.
Sure.
Too, right. Still today. But now there's the American Fair Credit Council. It's a very prestigious organization who helps regulate and watches over a lot of the servicing that's done to make sure it's following federal regulation and compliant, right, as well. Because there's still companies out there that you might find that might charge people up front. So you just got to be careful. And so it's not charged up front anymore? No, not at all.
Okay, so the other thing is it was the money previously was just going into a general fund.
It was going to the company.
Right.
Was apparently going to do the servicing. They kept asking for more money from clients once they get a settlement.
Does this sound like Sam Bankman-Fried somehow?
Maybe. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't work that way anymore.
Nope. No. So now the consumer or the client's going to get into the program. They're going to make their new payment, which is usually half on an aggregate of what they were paying before, which is great. So, and then they're going to make that payment into an account. It's an FDIC insured account that's established in the client's name only.
Wow. Okay. So that's a big difference right there.
So it's protected, right? Because they have full access for that account. Meanwhile, the servicing's done with the creditors. There's no upfront cost or anything. The client just makes the new payment, right? And voluntarily stops making their payments to the creditors. So they're hungry for money as well. The credit card companies or lenders that are
they want to get paid.
Right. Exactly. So 3-6 months go by, we're already seeing a lot of results usually with the credit card companies. And it's an aggregate of like 50% off too, typically on what they owe. So if someone owes $100,000, we'll see it go down to maybe 50,000, right, on their new balance for their debts.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when we come back, I want to talk about how long does it take me to get this whole process done? Am I going to get sued? And I got about 17 other questions.
Okay, good.
We're going to talk about that when we come back. We're going to continue our conversation this morning. Chris Karalis, Josh Guleserian, Advantage First. Did I get it right twice?
You got it. Yeah.
Jeez.
Nicely done.
Okay. I'm guaranteed to mess it up in the next segment. Okay, so we're talking about debt consolidation, and we've learned quite a bit. If you missed the last segment, you missed a lot. Shame on you. It'll be available on Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube and all of our social channels. So we're talking. Let's talk hypotheticals. I'm really good at hypotheticals.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yesterday, I did a segment on what we call as the RSR2step.com. RSR2step.com. You can go and see that anytime you want to. And it was basically somebody had bought a $400,000 property 4 years ago. They refinanced it 2 years ago. They have a 3.25% interest rate. We're going to a 7.25% interest rate. Hypothetical numbers, don't take me. It's just examples. The APRs and everything else is right there on rsr2step.com. They had $104,000 in that example in consumer debt.
Okay.
$104,000. What in a generic world? And that was I think we had one car and 3 credit cards, a MasterCard, a Visa, and a Discover.
Okay.
There might have been one other item, but I think that was basically it. $104,000. Roughly, what are we going to be looking at in a settlement for something like that? Is there a rule of thumb?
Around 100,000.
104,000 in debts.
Yeah. On an average, it's around 50% off.
Okay, we're not going to hold you to it. I mean,
Right. It's an aggregate, so
Okay.
it's typically half.
So it's about 50% is what they're gonna see as far as savings.
And sometimes it's even better, but it's an aggregate.
Okay, yeah, we don't want to throw pie in the sky. We don't want to
Right.
over promise. What is it? So you're going to save 50. So on this one here, we're going to save 52,000.
Mm-hmm.
Roughly, what's that going to cost them to do that for the negotiations?
The negotiation ranges, it's around 20-25% of
Okay.
the debt amount, right? And if you can, so you can safely say from $100,000, $75,000 or less is what
Okay.
they'll end up paying.
So you're going to basically, you can look for like about a 25% haircut.
Not only that, but the interest that they would have paid above and beyond $100,000 on the credit cards, right? Which can translate into triple.
Sure.
Usually with the daily compounding interest they charge.
Right.
So, I mean, and that could take 15 years, right? And then they wouldn't have to give up equity in their home or anything like that, or take
Gotcha.
a higher rate either.
Okay.
And the great news about that 25%, a lot of people probably slammed on their brakes right now saying there's no way I'd ever pay that. But here's the reality. 25% service fee equates to about 5.6 as an annual percentage rate. So it's substantially cheaper. It's actually
So they're not paying interest on it anymore once it goes into the debt settlement.
They will for a minute for the first few months. They'll
Okay.
still pay interest. They might see fees accumulate, but all that gets negotiated against when they get the reductions.
And do you do unsecured debt as well as just credit cards?
All unsecured loans, credit cards, even private student loans.
Private student loan, okay.
Yeah.
And obviously we know that our friends over rsrstudentloanhelp.com will take care of the government student loans. But you go to rsrstudentloanhelp.com. They've got the calculator right there for you for that one. This sounds like, so how long does this take?
It just depends. I mean, it's usually, it depends on the debt amount more than
Okay.
anything, but roughly a little over 4 years, 55 months, right, is kind of our average for if you owe over 35,000. If you get over like 60, 70,000, we can stretch it out a little bit longer. But the good news is there's no prepayment penalties. So if you have the ability to pay extra, we always encourage you to do so, because the bottom line is, the client's going to be in control of getting out of debt rather than the creditor controlling.
So
them.
let me understand this, because if we're talking about 4 years, say, or 4 to 5 years, so are you negotiating it before it's paid? It's not like the old one where you waited until they would accept a certain amount of money?
So basically, they're going to pay into an escrow account.
Okay.
It's open in their name. They're building funds. The negotiations happen, and then once it happens, the servicer will collect a portion of the fee, right, for that particular debt. So everything gets spread out over this 4.5-year term.
So,
right?
but
doing
you've
so.
already know how much how much it's settled for before you start making these payments.
Not before, not necessarily. We base it. Well, they'll base it on historical data of what they've already gotten before with that particular creditor.
So is the creditor going to start getting money during that 4-year period, or are they not getting any money?
Yeah, they will.
So they're getting a piece of their debt repaid.
Stretched out. Yeah, like
Correct.
let's for example, if you owe, you know,
Say I owe
$10,000,
$20,000 to Bank X.
then it gets reduced to 10.
Right.
Then they'll say, okay, well, we're going to spread out this new balance of 10,000 over 20 months or whatever, $200 a month, right? Whatever it ends up working out to be, to pay that creditor off, right?
Okay.
And then a portion of the fees collected because they negotiated that particular settlement, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, one good thing is the terms can go up to 60 months. Now we picked a 44-month term. Here's the reality of this. We've had clients where we get them out of
Hey, Chris,
debt.
48 months is 4 years. Just throw that out.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
55.
Man.
there.
Public education here, guys. So if it makes sense for the client, we could do shorter terms. And in many cases, we could have people out of debt in 18 to 24 months. Again, that number is based off something that allows them to have some money in their pocket and they're not strapped with credit card payments.
So they can go through and so one of the things that I'm contemplating here is if they qualify and they go and they watch our video from yesterday or our replay from yesterday where we talked about RSR student loan, RSR two-step, RSR's twostep.com. And we were just going to do a refi and pay off the entire $104,000.
Mm-hmm.
If they had gone through your process first, and now they've got a $50,000 agreement, hypothetical, we're not giving any exacts. They've got a $50,000 and they've got their $20,000 or $25,000 in fees. They could just write it. If they do that refi, they could just write a check for that and be done.
Yeah, it'll still take a few months to set everything up, but yeah, you can put all that money into the account and basically be done. And then the debt's paid off.
And the best part is there's no long-term negative effect on credit. It is not a bankruptcy. It is not credit counseling.
There's no public record.
Okay.
At all.
So, but the question would be is what effect is it going to have on one's credit if there's no payments being made in that first 4 or 5 or 6 months?
Absolutely. Yeah. They'll see a temporary impact on their payment history. So the credit does go down initially, but around 6 months, as long as they keep making their payments on time, they'll start usually showing signs of improvement with their credit profile.
And that, so part of the negotiation isn't that they're going to remove the late payments.
They don't help you remove the lates, but you can do credit repair, right? And I'm sure you have some companies you know of.
Creditsanitizer.com. Our friends over at Blue Water Credit do a great job.
That's a plug.
Yeah, exactly.
Not that we plug people, we just find, hey, we're a program. We're consumer advocates looking for all ways of helping people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're not too expensive, I know.
Yeah.
And they can help remove lates usually and or negative marks off the report. But what's good is once the debt's paid off, it reflects very positively to someone's credit profile because you paid it off.
Yeah. So after a couple of years there, as it keeps on getting better, you're in good shape. Let's get back to our conversation. We are talking about debt consolidation and the new way of doing it. And as you know, if you've been a listener to Ron Siegel Radio, I started doing this show in 2010. I didn't like the debt consolidation product. It was a horrible, horrible product back then. Thankfully, and I'm not a fan of regulation, but thankfully it's gotten regulated and it's gotten better. And there are solutions for you. I know there's a lot of people that hurt because of debts. They don't sleep at night. They turn to alcohol, drugs, divorce, right? There are solutions. Give us a call at 800-306-1990. I will put you in touch. Is it right for you? I don't know. And I'll tell you that all the time. I don't know if a bankruptcy is right for you. I don't know if a debt consolidation loan is right for you. Until we have a chat, how do you know what's right? It's like going to a doctor and saying, hey, doc, can you give me a prescription? He's like, I probably could if I knew what was wrong with you, right? You don't want some heart medication if you got bad knees. It's not going to have a good outcome. So we want to have those conversations. So we're chatting with the guys about resolving debts and a whole different product.
Yeah, much better.
Yeah. So what do you need from somebody in order to for that initial consultation?
Primarily, just kind of figuring out the reason behind the debt, making sure maybe they weren't gambling their debt away, right? And that they have an income that they can afford the new payment, right? But it's a huge thing. It's a compliance thing to make sure that
That's a good thing, having the
This is-
compliance part.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Extremely compliant.
We're very compliant. Yeah, we want to make sure it's affordable because we're not going to put someone in a circumstance that's not going to benefit them, right?
Now, one of the old things that they used to do was, I have a debt with Bank X,
Mhm.
and the debt consolidation company calls Bank X
Mhm.
on my behalf.
Right.
Yours is a little different than that, right? You're doing pools, so to speak.
There are debt pooling, that's being done in like the millions of dollars. So they may go to Chase or whoever, right? Whatever ex-creditor with not just your debt, they'll go to them with, you and 1,000 other people that have that same bank's debt, and they'll pool all the money together. It's much more attractive to the creditor, right?
Sure, because now they don't have to call 100 people or 1,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They're negotiating with one service or attorney or whoever is doing
Yeah.
on your behalf.
Exactly. In the tens of millions. Right.
Right.
And if it's a smaller debt, sure, they don't need to. They may just say, okay, if you owe 1,000, here's 500. Right. It doesn't necessarily always go through that pool of money, but it helps the
But if you're putting a
client.
pool together of $5 or $10 or $20 million, there's probably some sort of a relationship going on between the
Yes.
negotiators for both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's. I've actually seen the negotiation process, and it is. I mean, it's run like you and I speaking on a Tuesday. I mean, it's we're talking about our day, and then let's get to business, and then they settle the debt, and then they'll talk about last night's football game.
Mhm.
It's incredible where technology is done, and it is all about relationships. And speaking of relationships, when we settle the debt, right before it's settled, the consumers actually call. And we'll tell them, hey, we actually settled your debt today at 48 cents on the dollar. Would you like to settle, or would you like to try for later? And then we'll give a forecast of what we believe it'll
Mhm.
be as well.
Yeah. The consumer signs off on it every time too.
That's a big difference from what it was before too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a whole team process.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Greetings from Ontario, Canada. Love to have you from Ontario, Canada. Regis, glad you're with us today. Don't know if does this work in Canada?
Don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't think
So-
Maybe if you have a stateside address or not. Yeah.
Stump the experts here.
Right. Right.
But something it sounds like it's a whole different world for people.
It's completely different.
It's so much better.
I've had clients that tell me I'm not doing that snake oil thing, and it's from something that happened in 2006. And as you know, Ron, the regulations have changed.
a lot of regulations with Dodd-Frank and everything else.
Absolutely. So we're highly regulated. Every single call that we talk to a consumer is monitored. So
Yeah.
it's incredible.
And there's some times that I've shared with people that bankruptcy is not a bad option, right? For some people,
Correct.
right? But bankruptcy is also, in my opinion, should be a last resort.
I agree with that as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Josh made a comment before, if you don't have a job and you're getting these calls over and over again and you can't afford even the 50 cents on the dollar or 40 cents on the dollar or 60, whatever it is.
Right.
Go speak to a bankruptcy attorney.
you need
It's
to
there
talk
to
to an
help
attorney.
you. Right. Get a free consultation.
And many, many times what we see is, if a bankruptcy attorney writes a letter to a creditor and says, hey, something, I've got Mrs. Jones here, and I think the best solution is for her to file bankruptcy. All of a sudden, the creditor might have a different attitude on settlement,
Good.
right? Because they're
Yeah.
looking at getting zero
Correct.
versus getting some percentage.
Absolutely. They don't want to walk away without anything.
And as well as with a bankruptcy or credit counseling, the way it codes on your credit report. So this does not. There's no public record of this. So
So
obviously,
you've just got the
Initial impact.
initial impact on the late
Mhm.
payments,
Exactly.
which the likelihood is in many instances, by the time it gets to you, they've already got some late payments anyway.
correct.
Yeah.
In many
Right.
many cases,
Which
it's
is
that way.
which is similar to bankruptcy. They've got most people that I've seen, and I've been looking at credit reports for many, many decades. Credit scores go up in bankruptcy, right? Because they've got all those debts that have been wiped off. They've got all
Right.
those late payments that now have to be zeroed off the credit report.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But next, I was at 2 weeks. We're going to have Sarah Perkins is going to be here with Blue Water Credit, and we might chat with her and see what this, this might be we do the RSR 2-step
Mhm.
for debt consolidation. This could be a 2-step process also, right? Talk to you guys, get the debts cleaned up, and talk to our friends over at Blue Water Credit. Go to creditsanitizer.com
Absolutely.
and have them work on saying, something, we've negotiated this, we've made payments on time, we're in good faith, give us a little love.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely.
Right, I mean, that's and again, it's all just, they're not doing it saying that you don't have the debt. You guys aren't going in there saying it's not our debt. You're going in there saying, hey, something, you got to follow the law.
Right.
Mhm.
Creditors have to follow the law, you guys have to follow the law. So now we've got the American Fair Credit Counseling Act. Is that it?
Yeah, AFCC.
So you got the American Fair Credit Counseling Act with the Fair Credit Reporting Act and all the other ones. So the bottom line is there's a lot of laws that can protect you. I didn't even know about this American Fair Credit Counseling Act until the guys came in this morning. And I do this every day. How about you? Did you know this was there? My guess is you probably didn't, and this might be a solution for you. If you want more information, if you want to have a consultation to see if it is a solution, give me a call at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. I'll put you in touch with them.